side. They can see you
really
good.
Why am I not looking at them?
I don't know. We can do the whole interview.
I don't see any screen.
At the screens there, so.
All right, we're going to stop everything while they put a monitor here so I can see what we look like.
Yes.
Next time we do that, all right?
We will do that.
Okay.
Absolutely. We can have a giant screen of you behind your head. So.
All right, now we get serious. Stop kidding around out there.
Let's go ahead and get everybody real excited. You just shot another one of your famous cameos.
I told you, when you talk into the mic,
Yes.
I can't make out what the hell
You just shot
See, it's funny. When people talk into the mic, it sounds to me like this. I don't know why. So hold the mic a little bit away.
That doesn't sound
and
like
talk
me.
like a human being.
That doesn't sound like me at all. No, I'm just kidding. You just shot one of your very famous cameos for Iron Man 3. And without going into...
I love the way he said my famous cameos.
And without going into too many major spoilers, was that a fun time? Was that lit? I'm hearing that that's going to be one of your best.
Oh, I think the cameo for Iron Man 3 might very well be the best I've ever done, and you know how great the others have been. I got to tell you a funny thing. Well, it's funny to me. You may not find it amusing at all, but, you know, grant me this one. You know, the Avengers made a lot of money.
Is that a movie? I haven't heard of that.
Yeah, it came out recently. And I'm going to tell you the real reason that the Avengers made all that money. You may remember my cameo is at the very end, and it's very brief. Now, a lot of people blink their eye or talking to the person next to them. They miss my cameo. So what happens when that occurs? They go back to the box office and they buy another ticket. Hey, we're not leaving until we see Stan's cameo. That's why the movie made so much money. That's why they put the cameos in.
Now, this has been an interesting year because we've had the Avengers come out, which we've been a long time waiting for that, and seeing all those heroes.
So have I.
All those great heroes on the big screen that you had such an important role with. That's got to be like the most gratifying thing of all, because we're not just looking at one character, we're looking at all these characters that you've worked so hard on over the years.
Yeah, they didn't put Doctor Strange in there, they didn't put the Black Panther, they didn't have Ant-Man, and a few others. I've got a bone to pick with them. Oh, I'll tell you something funny about the Avengers. Well, to me it's funny, you may not find it funny at all. I was asked to do a little something for the show Good Morning America on television, and I don't know when this will come out, maybe at Halloween, I don't know, but they came over to my office to film it, and this is what they wanted me to say. Let me think if I can remember it for a minute. Hey, Cap, Iron Man, Hulk, Thor, there's trouble in Times Square. Avengers assemble! Something like that. Obviously, I did it magnificently, so you've got to watch Good Morning America until that comes out, and you can turn to the lucky person next to you and say, I heard Stan tell me about that.
I love how you did that and just went, or something like that.
Well, I'm not sure of the exact wording, but it was close to that.
Yeah.
Actually, I changed it because what they wanted me to say was much duller. And I, of course, made it exciting and literary and magnificent. I could do a lot better if modesty wasn't always holding me back.
Well, you are one of the world's greatest editors, if not the world's greatest.
The world's greatest. You know what I don't understand? I don't understand why they always say, Stan, you're going to be on a panel, and they call this a panel. Doesn't the panel have to be a lot of guests? I mean, I got my friend here who's wonderful, but he's like the interlocutor, and I'm sitting here all alone, defenseless, and no other people here to carry the burden, and they call it a panel. That isn't. Oh, I'll tell you another thing that bothers me. Did you ever see on the internet, I have this show, I don't know what, Stanley's...
World of Heroes.
World of Heroes, thank you.
You're welcome.
And I have something called Stan's Rants, where I talk about all the things that bother And of course, a guy like me, everything bothers me. So I'm going to give you a preview of a rant that will come out soon. I've already done it, but it hasn't been made public yet, I don't think. And this is very serious, and I want you to pay attention. The word comic book. Every time somebody writes it, they write C-O-M-I-C space B-O-O-K. They write it like it's two words, comic book. And here's the fallacy of that, the enormity of the terrible injustice that is done. If it's a comic book, that means it's a funny book. That's what the word comic means. Nobody can call Thor a funny book. However, if they were to write it as one word, comic book, C-O-M-I-C-B-O-O-K, then it becomes a description of its own, just like magazine, television show, comic book, and a comic book would mean an illustrated story. So I want you all not to waste time when you leave here. Contact all your friends, everybody you know, and let's start the ball rolling on this, okay? And these things, why doesn't Dad shut up so I can ask him the questions I want to ask him?
Stan's Rants, live and in person. You got to see a Stan rant live and in person. This also bears the subject of when you do a lot of these things online, and you're very present online. You're on Twitter, you're on YouTube, you're on several different videos. It's got to be great to kind of have that connection with your fan base, to where you can constantly be talking to them and constantly addressing concerns and new things that are coming out. How important is that to you on a daily basis to be able to communicate with the fans?
The fans are the most important people in the world to anybody in the entertainment business. And anybody in the entertainment means writing, acting, sports, music, comics, anything where you're entertaining the public. Anybody in entertainment who doesn't pay enough attention to fans is an idiot, because without fans, we're nothing. Except me, I'd be a lot.
You're a modest fan, too. That's what
That's one of my qualities.
We want to
can't see any. Are you sure there are people?
There's people. I'm sure there are 10 or 12 people.
You say
there's at least 12 people. We want to take some questions from the audience. I know we have a microphone over here.
Maybe
so.
you want to. What makes you
don't want to take any questions from the audience?
Well, if I have to, okay. Probably won't.
While we're waiting on somebody to come up there, you and I did a Q&A 15 years ago. You came out to the Dallas Collectors Con, I think it was, and I remember seeing like a dozen or so cameras in the audience, and I never once thought to ask anybody for a copy of that tape. So one of you guys...
Do I have it?
Do you have it? I don't think you have it. No.
Oh, you asked me if one of them has it.
Well, yeah, I don't think any of these guys have it. But we've got a lot of video cameras out in the audience, so one of you guys has to give me a tape after this. That's all.
Nobody would ever let go of a tape like that. That would be sacred to anybody.
But the reason I bring that up is because that was 15 years ago, and you look exactly the same. You have the same energy. How do you do it? How do you keep up that kind of energy after all?
If I told you, everybody would do it. I have no idea. I just like what I'm doing. I like being with fans. I'm not very particular. I even like being with you. It's fun. That's all. I hope you're enjoying it as much as we're enjoying it.
I wish I could say the same. Let's start over here. We've got one question over here. Step on up to the mic and please speak loudly, if you will.
Hello, Mr. Lee. My question is, you have made a lot of excellent cameos in some great films based on your work. And I just wanted to know if in all those cameos that some of the other great Hollywood actors were some of your big fanboys and had ever asked you for your autograph.
I could only make out about 1/3 of that. Could you
Sure.
summarize it?
When you shoot your cameos, were any of the actors, did they kind of drop their egos for a minute and admit how much of a fan they were of you?
Well, I'd like to say that they all gathered round me and sang tribute songs. But actually, they're very nice, all of them, and we've become friendly. Robert Downey Jr. is the first time I met him, he bowed down. I'll tell you a funny thing about these guys, though. Very often, they'll ask me to have lunch with them if they're in Beverly Hills, where our office is. And I'll bring them to a restaurant that I know. And I remember I walked in with Robert Downey Jr. actually a few months ago, and all the waiters recognized him. Well, you can imagine how they treat me from now on at that restaurant. And I walked in with Chris, who plays Thor, and I walked in with Webb, the director of Mark Webb. Yeah, I'm no good at names. But these guys think I'm some big, powerful movie personality, and naturally I try not to dissuade them. The only bad thing about it, I have to leave an extra big tip, or they think that son of a bitch, look at me. It costs you a lot of money to be a celebrity.
We have one on this side. Let's go over here.
My name's Reese. I'm a big fan, but my question is, if you had the opportunity to hang out with one of your characters, who would it be and what would you do?
I heard "if I," and that was all I got.
If you could hang out with one of the characters that you helped create, which one would it be and what would you do?
One of the girls. I don't do anything because I'm married. I don't know, whoever's the prettiest girl. I used to always show the artist pictures of my wife and say, make them look like her. Then I was safe and I knew it would be a gorgeous girl.
Is she in the audience? Like, are you sucking
No,
up?
I wish she were. If she was in the audience, I'd be with her somewhere and I wouldn't even have time for this.
Go right over here.
How can you, it's blackness, how can you actually point to somebody? Does it look different where you are?
Yes,
He's fooling you.
I have superpowers. You gave them to me. Right over here.
Yes, Mr. Lee, I was wondering how you feel about your characters being portrayed on the big screen. Do you think the actors are doing an adequate job?
How do you feel about
How do you feel?
how do you feel about the characters that you've created being portrayed on the big screen? Do you feel the actors are doing an accurate job?
Oh man, the fact that these characters are on the big screen and are so successful is the greatest thing that could have happened to me. The director, the screenwriter, the actors do all the work, and I end up getting a lot of the credit. And all I do is a lousy little cameo. Couldn't be a better deal.
Right over here.
First off, I just want to say thank you. Thank you on behalf of all the fans everywhere. You've created an amazing world that's gotten us through all kinds of great times and bad times. So thank you very much for everything you've created. Basically, I just said thank you.
Check that you gave him earlier. He said thank you for all the characters you've created. But there's still a question coming.
Whoever you are, wherever you are very welcome.
I was just wondering if you could have any superpower yourself. You've created all these heroes with all these amazing superpowers. What superpower would Stan Lee want to have?
What superpower would Stan Lee want?
I would want luck. Because if you're lucky, everything else follows through. You like that girl, you want a date, hey, you're lucky, you'll get the date. A job open, you want the job, you're lucky, you'll get the job. See what I mean? Whatever you want, you're lucky. So forget all these other nonsensical things like, even if you're strong, somebody will be stronger. If you're fast, you can still fall in a ditch and hurt yourself. But if you're lucky, everything goes right for you. But don't go taking that from me. I get first dibs on luck.
Right over here.
Yes, I was just wondering, with all the villains you've created, which one was your favorite and why?
That's a good question. With all the villains you've created, which villain was your favorite and why?
Well, I think maybe Dr. Doom. Because I like the sound of the name, Dr. Doom. And also, he was the king of his own country, Latveria. By the way, I'm very proud of Latveria. I made that name up. And you can't tell me it doesn't sound like a real country. There are people who tell me they looked it up on the map. They're so convinced there is a Latveria. But another thing I like about Doc, he's king of his country, so if he comes here to America, if he does something bad, he can't get arrested. He's got diplomatic immunity. How many other villains can say that?
You know a great restaurant in Latveria?
See, you think there's a country.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize there was a center mic. I can't see anything either, so I'm sorry. Right here.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Lee. Thank you. I have a very silly question.
I'll give you a silly answer.
I'm from New York, and a lot of us in New York have wondered, because we haven't been able to be clear on it, is Spider-Man a Yankees fan or a Mets fan?
Is Spider-Man a Yankees fan or a Mets fan, since he's from New York?
I'd love to be able to answer that, but as many times as I've had meetings with him, we've never discussed that subject. He's always worried about Doc Ock and the vulture and the lizard. We never have time to talk about sports. But if I have to give an answer, I think he'd be a Yankee fan. Because I am.
You know, half of you really like that answer. All right, just to catch up a little bit, we'll take one more from the center.
Are we falling behind?
Well, no, because we were missing the center. I didn't know there was 3 mics. Go ahead.
Mr. Lee, I've been a fan of Spider-Man ever. My question for you is, since it's in his inception in '62, what do you think about his progress, growth to nowadays? You know,
Since Spider-Man's inception in 1962, what do you think about the progress, growth of the character to present day?
Oh, I think it's been wonderful. He's probably become one of the most famous superheroes. He's right up there with Superman and Batman, and they started way ahead of him. Maybe he's even more famous, I don't know. But I know every Halloween, and you check it out when Halloween comes around soon, they sell more Spider-Man costumes for kids than anything else. We've been very lucky. Spider-Man has turned into a whole industry, really. I mean, young kids like him, grown-ups like him. People come over to me, men, and they say, Stan, I just want to thank you for Spider-Man. He made my childhood happy. I think, why did you know him? But anyway, they say. So I would have to say, I think I'm very, I forget the question, but if it was, how do I feel about Spider-Man's progress? I'm very happy about it.
Yeah.
thank you very much.
All right. Go right over here.
Alright, this is a pretty vague question, I guess, but as the amazing artist you are, to any, I guess, artists, other people, like your fans and stuff, if they're like not very motivated with their art, what do you suggest?
What sort of suggestions do you have of motivation for aspiring artists?
Wow. You know, that's tougher than it sounds. You've got to, if you're talking about a comic book artist, and I assume you are, you've got to be able to have good visual taste and be able to judge artwork. Now, the reason for that is, if you want to be a comic strip artist, you've got to know if your drawings are as good or better than the artists who are already appearing in comic books. Because it's very logical. Marvel and the other companies, they have very fine artists doing their strips. Now, if they want to hire a new artist, that guy has to be better than whomever they're using, or at least as good if they don't have enough artists. But if your work isn't as good as what's out there, you've got to keep practicing and practicing until it is. And that's why I say you've got to have a good eye. So many people who want to do artwork they tend to fool themselves a little. They draw something, it looks kind of nice, and they say, oh wow, this is great, they'll love it. But it may not really be as good as what's being done. So the most important thing, you've got to be a good critic of your own work. And when you feel that your artwork is as good as they're using in the books now, or hopefully even a little better, then you go and send it to the art director, and he'll probably respond very enthusiastically, because they're always looking for new artists, good artists.
Good answer.
That's the most serious I've ever been.
I was, there was no joke in there anywhere. That was great. Let's go right now.
Hi, Stan. I was wondering, out of all the Marvel characters you've ever created, which one do you think's changed the most over the years?
Which one?
Out of all the Marvel characters that you've created, which one do you think has changed the most over the years?
Well, you know, they've all changed a lot. I found out the other day that there's now a red Hulk and a blue Hulk. I'll be honest with you, I don't have time to read the comics. And believe it or not, I do not read the comics. And I haven't for a few years, so I don't even know what's going on. I look at the covers sometimes, the Marvel covers. Not that the others aren't good, but again, I don't have time. At Marvel, they send me the books all the time. So I try to glance through the covers, and I gotta tell you, I think the covers are fantastic. Some of them look like fine art, the type of things that would hang in a museum, or they look like great advertisements, the way they're laid out. But other than that, I can't really tell you about what's happening with the characters.
Sorry. Right here.
I have a question about the new Avengers movie. Are they going to have more Avengers?
Are there going to be more Avengers movies?
Are you kidding?
Like more Avengers, like in the movie.
Oh, more Avengers in the movie. Yeah, you addressed that earlier.
Yeah, there'll be...
You're missing something.
Well, of course, the Black Widow and Hawkeye, but they're adding a few more. I forget which they are now, but every time they have a character they want to promote, they'll put them in the Avengers or her in the Avengers so that you get a whiff of them and you get used to them, and then eventually they'll all get their own movies. They have such a slate of production schedule, you wouldn't believe it. They're even working on an Ant-Man movie. And of course, the Doctor Strange, Black Panther, and Inhumans, on and on. Submariner.
Yeah. And finally, it's about time for the Submariner to get some attention. Right over here.
Okay, first off, I'd like to say it is an honor to ask you a question.
Thank you.
Out of all the characters that you've created, is there one that got so popular that you were a little bit surprised by it?
Oh, that's a good question. Out of all the characters that you worked on, was there one that got more popular than you expected it to get? Like maybe that was just a real phenomenon and you weren't...
Well, I'll answer that, but I think you were very tactless. I heard you say, that's a good question. Now, does that imply that the other questions have not been good?
Not at all. Not at all.
What was the question again?
Out of all the characters, I love doing this. This is so great. Out of all the characters that you've helped create, was there one that became more popular than you expected it to get? Like, was there one that was just a phenomenon that you didn't think, I didn't think that one would catch on?
Honestly, no.
You knew they would all be hits.
No, I didn't know they'd all be hits. Every time we did a new book, every time I came up with a new idea and I gave it to Jack or Steve or Gene or Bill Everett or whoever I gave it to, or Don Heck, I hoped it would sell well. And when they did sell well, I was delighted. But I don't think any of them surprised me more than the other. Frankly, I'm my biggest fan. I thought they were all good. And even Sergeant Fury. And didn't we do Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. as well?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I love that also. No, I loved everything. I was never surprised.
Yeah. So you knew. That's great. Okay. Right over here. Sign of a good creator. You know it's going to be good.
Damn right.
Right over here.
How many ladies in costume have flashed you?
I'm not going to say this is a good question. I'll leave that up to you. How many ladies in costume have flashed you? If you tell me, is that a good question?
Well, it got a lot of laughs, so I'd say it's a great question. I love hearing laughs. If by flash you mean they somehow took off part of their costume to reveal parts of their anatomy, that has not happened to me. I haven't been that lucky.
So there are 2 more days of the family show.
People do come over to me, which is a hell of a surprise, men and women. At every convention, it happens at least a few times, and would I sign my name on their arm or leg or any part of the body so that they could have it tattooed. So with some of them, requesting the signature is the closest thing to what you said, which I'm not going to mention, because like you said, we may have some young children in the audience.
Okay, so you didn't sign any boobs? No, I'm just kidding.
Go right here. We might have an audience of nothing but young children. I can't see.
Right here.
So obviously, through your career, you've been a huge success, and there's been a lot of momentum, especially in the last 10 years with comic books in general. Is there one moment, and maybe there's many, other than being here with us today, that is the defining moment where you said, this has made everything worth it for me?
Okay, so you've had a lot of success through the years, but out of everything that's happened, was there one moment that was for you a defining moment that you felt like this made everything worth it?
No. No, I'm very serious. I just kept going along, doing what I did, and the book started selling well, and I was happy. I was too busy to think about defining moments. There was so much to do all the time. There still is. Every moment was a defining moment, in a sense. But in all honesty, I can't think of any one time when I said, wow, I never expected this, this is great. Anything that was great, I always expected. Hell, I was doing it.
The correct answer was this Q&A. So,